Hi, this is Randy McCaleb, and you are watching Touchdown in H-Town. This is our weekly sports segment. This week we're going to be talking about the four greatest professional athletes in the history of sports, or as I call them, my Mount Rushmore of professional athletes. We have Michael Jordan in basketball, by far and away the greatest basketball player of all time, Babe Ruth in baseball, and Wayne Gretzky in hockey. I define my Mount Rushmore of professional athletes by the level of dominance they had in their particular sport over everyone else who competed in the same era as them and in the history of that particular professional sport. I don't think there's any question Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan, or Wayne Gretzky are the best in their sports. The fourth spot prior to the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio was unoccupied. There were a lot of viable candidates for that spot, in my opinion. You had Jack Nicklaus in golf, the greatest golfer of all time. However, you had Tiger Woods, who, as it stands right now, is certainly not the greatest, but he did have the 10 to 12 year period that was by far and away the most dominant. So I can't really put Nicklaus or Tiger Woods in that spot. Although prior to 2009, after he had his mental breakdown, I would have bet anything that he was going to go on to break Jack Nicklaus's record of 18 major professional majors and go on to surpass at least 20 something majors. He was going to be my, for sure, Mount Rushmore spot. He was going to occupy that number 4 spot. Then you have football. You don't really have a clear cut greatest of all time in the sport of football. You have Joe Montana, who was possibly the greatest quarterback for a long time. Tom Brady's come along. If Tom Brady wins a 5th Super Bowl and dominates and maybe wins another MVP award, a 3rd MVP, you could see putting Tom Brady as the greatest football player of all time, but that hadn't happened yet. Jerry Rice, by far the greatest receiver of all time, but his position isn't nearly as glorified as some of the other positions, such as quarterback, running back. You have Jim Brown, who dominated for the Cleveland Browns back in the 40s and 50s, but he only played 9 years. So you have the longevity issues, so I couldn't really put him. Then in boxing, you had Muhammad Ali, who many consider as the greatest of all time. But Rocky Marciano was 49-0, and Muhammad Ali lost 4 matches in his career. So a lot of people put Rocky Marciano as the greatest boxer of all time. Then you have tennis. You have Roger Federer. Most people consider Federer the greatest tennis player of all time. He has the most major wins. He has 17 majors. Next closest is Pete Sampras and Rafael Nadal with 14. So he should be the clear-cut winner, the greatest tennis player of all time. However, Rafael Nadal beat him in his prime more than Federer beat Nadal. So if he's not even the best player in his prime, then can you really consider him the best tennis player? So it was kind of up in the air. And then came the 2016 Rio Olympics and Michael Phelps, who before the 2016 Olympics, I would have said you could possibly put him as the 4th person. After these Olympics, he absolutely blew everybody out of the water, no pun intended. He won another 5 gold medals. He won a silver. He brought his total medals up to 28 and his total golds up to 23. Now, let's just put that in perspective of how he has dominated the rest of the people, not only in Olympics in general, but particularly and especially in the sport of swimming. He has dominated like nobody else ever has. He has 28 career Olympic medals. Second place in any sports in the Olympics is 18 gold medals, or 18 total medals. That's not even close. 28 to 18, I mean, that's 2 Olympics that he has medals over the second place finisher. Gold medals, it's even more of an annihilation. You have 23 gold medals for Michael Phelps. Second best in any sport, man or woman, in the Olympics is 9. That is total domination. In overall individual medals, Michael Phelps has 16 medals, and the second place finisher has 14, which isn't as wide of a margin, but considering that's men or women in the 120-year history of the Olympics, That's pretty incredible. And gold medals, Michael Phelps has 13 individual gold medals, and second place on that list is 8 individual gold medals. So that's a pretty big difference. And if you go to just the sport of swimming, which is what he's dominated obviously over the last 20 years, he had the 28 gold medals. Second place was 12, or 28 total medals. Second place was 12 medals overall. Gold medals, he had 23. Second place was 9 gold medals, won by Mark Spitz. Total dominant. He more than twice as many medals and gold medals as his nearest competitor in swimming. And when you break it down to individual events, Michael Phelps won 16 overall medals in individual events. Second place was 16 to 7, again more than twice as many as anyone else. And in individual gold medals, he won 13, and second place was 5. So it's Wayne Gretzky type numbers that we're talking about. Wayne Gretzky had more than 1,000 points, more than anyone else in hockey history, which is just Babe Ruth hit more home runs in several different seasons than entire teams back in the 1920s for the Yankees. But the stat that really, I think, solidifies Michael Phelps' place on Mount Rushmore as one of the 4 greatest athletes of all time is he had 13 individual gold medals. Second place all time in thousands of years of Olympics was a man named Leonidas of Rhodes, who held that record for 2,168 years. Until just this past week when Michael Phelps won his 13th and broke that record. I'm sorry, if you are more than twice as many medals and gold medals as anybody else in Olympics, including men and women, and you break a record that has stood for 2,168 years, in my opinion, that puts you on the Mount Rushmore of athletes. Michael Phelps, welcome to the club. Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Babe Ruth, and now Michael Phelps. This is Randy McCaleb, and this has been Touchdown in H-Town, and we are out.